Everyone. It's Greg Stevens, and this is a shot of inspiration. Our guest this week is Blaies, and Bailey is a lawyer in Dallas, Texas. And I've known Bailey since she was an infant. Her parents, Greg and Kim, are friends of mine from when we went to Baylor University. But Bailey has always been inspiring to me because she has battled alopecia most of her life, and she's going to tell us her story, her battle with it, how she engaged with it. But what was always inspiring to me was even when she was in high school and things would shut down most people, she actually looked at life and took it on with zest and just didn't let anything stop her. So Bailey, thanks for being on. I'm so happy to have you here. Again, you've always been an inspiration to me. Let's talk about you a little. Tell everyone about who you are, what you do, and then we'll talk a little about the struggle you had years ago.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This is a very cool opportunity and my very first podcast. So I'm very excited about that. And it's great to see you as well. You know, we don't get to talk as often as I would like, but that was a great introduction. I'm a lawyer in Dallas, Texas. I do intellectual property litigation, but it's primarily patent litigation. I have always wanted to be. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what's your law firm? Let's give it
It's Caldwell Cassidy. Yeah. It's Caldwell Cassidy Curry.
Okay.
If you look them up, you'll see how amazing they are and how lucky I am to be a part of this team. My dad is actually a lawyer as well, and so is my uncle. So this has been kind of my entire life goal. As far as I remember, I always said I'm going to be a lawyer. I remember I got like a sort of bad grade on a quiz in middle school and was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to law school now. Like that's how insane I was about achieving this goal. So it's very cool to actually be living that out in Dallas. I love telling my dad stories about what I do. I'm so excited when I, do a first in court. I call him immediately and I'm like, oh my goodness, guess what the judge said to me today? He's probably very annoyed by that, but I love it. And so I went to school, Pepperdine undergrad and Pepperdine law school. So I am licensed in Texas and in California because why not?
Okay.
But it is very nice to be back in Texas.
Why did you
especially back in Dallas?
Why did you ever leave Pepperdine? I mean, that is just Malibu's so beautiful.
I ask myself that question often. However, it was very, very nice to be living in Los Angeles at Pepperdine in a Malibu bubble. Every single day it was unrealistic. It was very cool that it was my reality, but I also understood that that's just not realistic to live on a country club on a mountain overlooking the ocean for my entire life, though it is a new goal to be able to do that.
That's a good
one
goal.
day right, because it's such an amazing place, and I really love Pepperdine and how they shape their students and just the people that they create. So truthfully, that's what makes it so special, and the amazing atmosphere is just kind of an added bonus to it. And I'm very grateful that I went there for law school as well. It made it a little bit more difficult to try to be a lawyer in Texas going to school in California, but the way that they teach you how to practice law and, seeing the different types of lawyers out in the real world, I'm very grateful that I was taught by those types of people and those types of lawyers. And I would go back in a heartbeat and do law school over again, which I don't know anyone that has ever said that in their entire life.
Maybe you could teach law there when you finish up your career.
Exactly.
Well,
or be like a summer adjunct professor or something.
Exactly. Your dad told me also you had, he said they have a great system there. He said you were really good, had great connections with your professors and still keep up with them.
Oh, yes. Actually, one of my professors, Professor Bullock, she came out here to Dallas because she has two daughters. One is a freshman at Pepperdine, and one is a sophomore in high school. And her sophomore was looking at colleges, and she texted me and two of my other friends that went to law school at Pepperdine but work out here. And we all had dinner, and her name's Charlotte. And so we were, talking about Charlotte and trying to convince her to come to Dallas because we're like, oh, but we're all here. So, we can take you under our wing. That's great. I have other professors that have since left Pepperdine, but I still like to keep track of, with them, and I still call them for advice too. I called them for advice in changing jobs, and what they thought about it, and I just really appreciate how attentive they are to both current students and former students, and how it really is a community and not just I'm going to law school to learn the law and then we're done. We have a forced curve. We don't care anymore. It's Pepperdine for life,
Right.
and I love that.
That's great. Now, everyone watching or listening to this is going to hear, wow, she's really got it together. She's a power lawyer. She's got out of Pepperdine. She's in Dallas doing what she always dreamed of. Let's go back and talk about when you your battle with alopecia and when you first were diagnosed, how that came about, and then just walk us through. And I'm going to ask a lot of questions because I really want people to understand how bold you were in life as you went through school. And I think it's an inspiration for me, and I think it would be inspiration for a lot of people out there battling with whatever they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't remember exactly when I was diagnosed. I was very young. I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years old. And over time, I've dealt with alopecia areata, where I have, the little coin-looking spots on my head. Sometimes you can hide them, sometimes you can't. But I still had hair. I've had alopecia totalis, which is where just all of the hair on top of my head was gone, but I still had everything else. And then I've also gone through a spout of universalis where I lost eyelashes, eyebrows, literally everything. And it seems like every time I had, a cycle or a spout, it was the worst time in your life that you would want it. Because the first time I really remember it affecting me was in middle school. That's when I had to wear a wig for the first time, was about halfway through 5th grade, I think. And then through 3/4 of middle school. And at the time, I mean, obviously nobody likes their middle school years. It's kind of a time we black out. But between me and my family, we didn't really know much about what to do or what the options were. So I just got a synthetic wig from the store, and it looked like a wig, but it looked cute to me. So I really liked it. But one thing I am going to say is throughout my entire experience, I have been very, very lucky with the support system that I've had, both from family and truthfully friends. Because when I look back at middle school, there were, middle school, high school, kids can be mean in general, but I didn't really have issues with bullying. Which is something that I'm very, very, very grateful for. And if anything, I had the opposite. I remember the one time I remember an issue with my hair when I was younger was I was in 6th grade. There was some random girl. I could not tell you her name or pick her out of a lineup today, but she was in 8th grade. And I don't even know what she said, but she made some comment about me having a wig or making fun of me for having a wig. And I had 10 of my girlfriends and they're little 6th graders and she's an 8th grader, barge up to her and be like, what are you talking about? Why would you say that? Does that affect you? And completely confronted her. And I just was so happy and grateful that I almost didn't even care that somebody had made a comment about me being ugly or something, without a wig, because I never felt ugly having friends and having a support system like that. So I am very grateful, and I do recognize that truthfully not all people that deal with alopecia or something like that are that lucky.
Right.
But that's something that definitely helped me with the internal struggles that you have when you have a disease that the world tells you is vanity. And now when I say the world, insurance, like medical insurance tells
right.
is vanity.
Won't give you anything for it, right?
Right. And that's,
Right.
That's something growing up where it's like, well, I know that. And I would always tell myself, I'm not physically ill. But then when the minute somebody else says it, you want to be like, no.
Right.
You don't understand.
Well, it's a condition you have that, it's a medical condition that you have. And I can imagine the battle you probably have, because insurance companies typically don't want to pay out where they don't have to. And
Right.
so that's part of the battle. But what I love about your story there was your friends helped, sounds like, deflect the pain you would have felt, and they shifted it into something where you felt appreciative and grateful for your friends, even though you didn't have the hair.
Absolutely. And I always, I mean, I was very lucky, but one thing I've always been very cognizant of is who I surround myself with. Because I want to give everything that I have to my friends and family. And so when you get that in return, it's such a great cohesive relationship. And so I don't want to say I'm selective with my friends. It's not necessarily intentional, but it's intentional in a way where you just naturally gravitate towards somebody that you know is genuine and kind and there for you, just like you are for them.
Right.
And that's a huge part of it. Because another time that it happened was I lost my hair. I lost about 80% of it in fifth grade. I had little like strands of it that would sit here, and I refused to like shave it off or anything. If I had even a tiny hair, I was like, no, I'm keeping it.
It was like gold.
Yes.
Got to
And
keep that.
Exactly. And then I had a few spouts in high school where like I would have a big chunk on the bottom of my head, but I could cover it on the top and things like that. The second time it happened very, very quickly, and it went from my areata to totalis to spouts of areata to the universalis, meaning I lost everything in a 2-week time span, right before my sophomore year of college. And I was actually going abroad to London like a month later. And I just remember I was sitting there, and I would, kind of put my hair in a ponytail, and I would be pulling chunks of hair. When I say chunks, like when I do have hair, it's very, very thick, which is lovely. That's very nice.
Yeah.
But it's also very noticeable when it starts coming out. And so I was kind of hoping, I was like, maybe I just had it in a ponytail too tight. Well, for 2 weeks, I mean, it just completely came out to where I had maybe like a strand on the top. And that's when I was like, we're going to just shave it and go from there. That was,
Well, that's when that happened. You're talking about before you went to London. Is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
Yeah, your dad. I'll never forget. He was so proud of you that you just said, "Forget it. I'm going. I'm not gonna sit here and feel bad. I'm gonna get out and live."
Yes.
And he was so proud of that, and it made me cry when I heard it, because it was
Aw.
like, oh my gosh. Well, no, especially when you're in college and you're looking around. There's got to be so much pressure, and then to think I've got to go do this. A lot of people I know would I might even crumble under that, and kind of stay behind closed doors, stay away from the world. But you went out and just grabbed it. So
Yes.
that's one of the, I always found that I always thought, if I have a daughter, that's what I would want. I would want a daughter who just takes life with gusto and grabs it. So that's what
thank you.
it seems like to me. No, thank you.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, honestly, a few things in response to that and how I was able to do that was, one, going back to the people that I surrounded myself with, and Pepperdine. I give a lot of credit to the kind of people that go to Pepperdine. And around when that had happened, my best friend Amber, who is my best friend now, I just remember this one day, and I was feeling just very sad. I was sitting there. I would always put my wig on last, so I would do my makeup and stuff, and I'd be completely bald. And there was one day I just was really struggling with it. I couldn't pinpoint why. I mean, obviously I can pinpoint why. I had just lost my hair for the first time as an adult, and so yes, that's why. But I was particularly upset that day. And we were supposed to be going somewhere that night, like we were going to dinner, and she just came in, took the eyeliner out of my hand, and like kissed the top of my little bald forehead. And I'm gonna cry right now thinking about it. It just made me cry because it was such genuine love of like,
love.
it's just hair. Like, it's just hair. You're still you, and
Right.
she didn't even say anything. She just did it, gave me a hug, and then we went back to getting dressed. And after that moment, I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna be okay in this because I'm still me, hair or not. Um,
Right.
and that's a big part of why, it's like, why stop your life? Why stop what you're supposed to be doing because of something that it really is just hair. It's so hard.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to explain it in that way, but um the struggle comes from being a female with alopecia. I think being a male, it makes it easier and harder at the same time, because being a female, I get to wear fun wigs, I get to have long hair, I had bangs so I could cover it up if I wanted to, and really people didn't know I had alopecia if I didn't want them to. I can put makeup on, I can put fake eyelashes on, whereas for a man it's more normal, I guess, if you want to say the word normal, to be bald, but it's not easy to cover up if you want to cover up. So
Yeah.
in that moment, I realized, like, I'm always my honest, true self to the people, to everyone around me. But if I didn't want to have alopecia for a day, then I would wear my wig, I would put my makeup on, and I wouldn't think about it. And then if I wanted to just be myself, I would take it off and be with my friends as me, and they didn't treat me any differently with the wig or without the wig. Amber really showed me that in that moment. And it just, that's when I was like, I'm going to go to London. Why would I not go to London under these
Right.
circumstances? Like, that just doesn't make sense. This is such an amazing opportunity. I'm not going to sit here and, be sad about this. And I don't want to say it's, don't be sad, don't be upset. Absolutely feel those feelings. I had days where I was completely fine and didn't think about it at all, but I had days where I did sit in my room, knees to my chest, bawling my eyes out, just wishing I had, control over this, wishing I could just have hair, wishing I could just be normal for a day. But it's not sitting in those feelings forever and not letting those take over is really what helped me through it.
Yeah.
Is feeling them in the moment and then being like, you know what? It's okay. I'm alive. What do I need to do today to make me feel better? Go to a soul cycle class, go to dinner, something like that.
Right.
And that helps you a
But I
little
think,
bit.
well, I think you said it there is you went through it. I think the quickest way when we deal with issues is going through them, trying to go rather than trying to go around them. Experience that emotion, but don't let it dominate you. You were able, and some people have problems with that, and there's all kinds of issues with that. It's just that's why I wanted to have you on, because I knew you went through those times. Greg told me, it's like
Yes.
as parents, they want to do something for you, but they can't.
Yes.
But only you can take that up.
Yes.
Only you can go through that, and it's normal to feel that. And but as you somehow got through it, and I believe part of that was your support group, your friends. Also, I think you've always been tapped into your internal. I think female power is the most powerful force on earth, and I think
Yes.
that's you understand your power. That's another thing. I used to teach man-woman relationship classes, and we would talk about the power of women. And women have such an amazing power, but women who don't understand their power can often use it in ways that, if you don't understand your power, you don't know what you hurt and what you don't.
Right.
And you've always understood that power. So that's what kind of go back to the relationship thing. Tell me a little about dating. What was that like for you? That's what I want to hear is what was that like? Because that's when the rubber meets the road is what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you asked that, because that's the one struggle. I don't want to say I never really figured out. I do have a boyfriend now that I've had for almost 2 years, Blaine, and he's amazing and adorable. But dating with this was very difficult. Some of it imposed by me, by myself, and how I felt about myself in that realm. And some of it was, guys not wanting me because of it. Being older, I know that that's not a guy for me, and that's okay. It is. I mean, that's just not my person.
Right.
But so I think there's there's positives and negatives for me out of this. So
Right.
I'm going to kind of go off topic for a second, but it fits in, I
Okay.
promise.
Okay, great.
So when I went through alopecia, you know, was going through all of these struggles for the first time and was a teenager or, you know, a preteen, that was by far the hardest time. And it was the hardest time for me more long term versus, you know, when my hair fell out a couple times when I was older. It was very hard for a few days, but I adjusted to the new normal. When I was younger, it was much, much more difficult trying to navigate my own feelings about it, my feelings about myself, truthfully, self-esteem and self-worth. And so I don't, what I ended up doing was I completely focused on school and my academics and my brain, and I put my worth in my abilities to do, you know, classes or projects or AP tests, which it's good. It paid off for me in the long run. I wouldn't necessarily suggest that to other people. That said, I still was always very social. I was on dance team and everything like that, but I was not willing to put myself out there when it came to boys. I had crushes and, you know, all of that, but I just was like, boys are not going to like me. I'm going to just prematurely go ahead and reject myself for them, and we're
Right.
not going to worry about it.